Today we're going to take a look at some ways to get some legitimate and maybe not so legitimate extra cash in Farm Sim 25. Unlike other iterations of this video that I've done for previous farming simulator games, I'm also going to show you some legitimate ways to make some extra cash that you may not have thought about, and some tips to just help you get started a little bit faster. And of course, we're going to go crazy at the end, so if that's what you're looking for, just skip to the end of the video. For everybody else, timestamps are linked down below. Let's check it out. So let's start with different ways to get some extra money without having to do anything, and that's going to start right here in Savegame Options. These settings right here will ensure that you have the most amount of money in your pocket and the most amount of equipment without having to do anything. So this can work for any of the maps. However, I've chosen Riverbend Springs here. Preset new farmer, starting mode $1 million, starting loan 0, economic difficulty easy because, we want to make things easy and have the most amount of money in our pocket at the end of the day. Starting farm, yes. Guided intro, no. You do guided intro, no, it just saves you some time. And time is money. Now that we're in the game, there's one more thing that we could do to have the most amount of money as possible without having to do any cheating aspects. So you want to go into your pause menu, go down to the Finances tab, and in here, we can borrow some cash. Maximum amount here is going to be $500,000, so now we have $1.5 million. You will have to pay that $500,000 back, and it will accrue interest over time, so do be careful about how long you keep on to that loan. Another thing we could do to get some quick cash is to sell everything off. Most of this equipment's not worth much. It's got quite a few hours on it. It's got a few years on it in some cases, and the condition's not 100% on anything. However, this is actually great news. If you are not planning on using any of this equipment here, well, hey, just sell it and then buy what you want. You got a little bit extra money. Also, to do a few comparisons, this Challenger MT600 series right here, $26,000 to sell this, and you'll get a little bit more than that if you reset it to the store. The sell point is just over here to the left-hand side of the main store, and when we go in here, did I lose the cog? There it is. You can see now we're getting $28,000 as opposed to the 26 here. It only takes you an extra 30 seconds or so, and you get a little bit more money for it. One other thing to consider is how much these cost brand new. $60,000 with only one customization option, $58,500 base price here. So to sell it, you're not even getting half of the money back. If you're needing some equipment, some of the stuff you may want to hang on to because it could save you money to hang on to it in the long run. Likewise, if you want to have the most amount of money in your pocket at once, well, then you want to buy used. Some of this equipment is very expensive. However, for this Chrome Varipack V, for example, 41% off. It only costs 40 grand here. That's a great deal. Of course, it does have time on it, 12 months here, but hey, 40% off. Go for it. One other thing to do before selling your equipment, if you're going to do that, again, make sure you do it right here. Come over to this cog and you want to repair and repaint everything. Again, just to showcase here, $47,534. When we sell it direct, $52,287. A repair cost on this is $370, which means that after that, this should cost $52,657. However, when I repair it, $52,695. So we're actually getting about $38 more there. If we're to paint this, it should give us $66,511 after the paint cost with that. But it's actually $67,893, so more than it should have been. So now with all of that calculated with repair costs, repainting costs, the original was $52,287. Now we're getting $67,893. So with a repair and paint cost of $14,186, a difference of $15,606, our bonus comes to $1,420 just by fronting the cost for painting and repairing. That, my friends, is what we call free money. Absolutely. So make sure that you repaint and repair everything before selling. Oh man, I sold that without repainting it, didn't I? Here's a way to not really get money, but save money. Let's say you need a combine harvester, and only the John Deere X9 1100 will do. Well, there is one thing you need to know about this, is it's expensive, $745,000 almost. But you don't have to do it that way. You can lease it if you want to for about 5% of what it actually costs. However, you have a base cost, you have a per work day cost, and a per work hour. So as many hours as you put on the machine, you are going to get charged this amount per hour worked. Then you have per work day, so every day in game you're going to get charged that much. However, because this costs you 5% of what a normal one would cost, let's say you've only got a few fields and you're not doing a big operation, well, it might be more beneficial to you to lease a combine harvester rather than own it. There's a lot of farmers that do this. If you need this for 2 hours every year in game, you're paying about 7 to 8% on this, leasing it, which you would on a new one. So it would take, how many years is that? So if you only need this for about 2 hours worth of work every single year in game, it's going to take you 13 years to not make up the difference, and a lot can happen in 13 years. Let's also say that every year in game you're doubling your in-game farm, meaning that for the 7.5 that you would spend, or 50% rather, well, that's going to go up every time. Let's say your efficiency doubles for your farm every single year. Well, within 4 to 5 years, leasing is going to become obsolete. So make sure that you're kind of figuring all that out, but I think leasing at least a combine harvester and any harvester early on is a good idea. And possibly even seeders and planters as well. However, I would definitely recommend your tillage equipment and your tractors. Make sure you own those. One of my other favorite ways to get money fast without really having to do any work at all, I mean, you got to do a little bit of work. See all these fields that need harvesting? Well, I don't need to own all of those fields. For example, we've got field like 85 right here. It's right around the corner from the store. Let's say you jump in, you buy field 85 for $194,000. Now we can come in, because it needs to be harvested, we can come in, harvest it. Once we've harvested it, we could just sell it again for the same price, and now it's just a harvested field that's on the map. And the workers, or the AI and stuff in the background will do the quote-unquote work there, and you don't have to. And you could find any of these fields that are ready to be harvested and just go in and do the work. Here's a couple carrot, parsnip, oats. I'm not quite sure what these colors are anymore. You can jump in there, get those fields harvested, and then just take off. Is it sneaky? Absolutely. But I mean, the biggest field on the map, field 24 up here, guess what? It's ready to be harvested. And it's got canola in it, and it's no fertilized. It's not fertilized. Well, that kind of stinks, but hey, you'll still get a bunch of canola. Field flipping has been super duper popular for a while, ever since we could sell fields, and sometimes it's kind of, it's not super duper realistic. You're not going to be flipping fields IRL, but you know what? In the game, if you need a little bit extra, or maybe there's some stuff that you need for a production chain that you really don't want to have to deal with, go buy the field, flip it, and then move on with your life. Something else you could do is change some settings around to make life a little bit easier. For example, in crops and growth, we have crop destruction. If you turn that off, well, you can never destroy your crops. Periodic plowing on and off. If you leave that off, guess what? You don't have to buy a plow. You've saved yourself money. Filled stones, if that's off, guess what? You don't need a rock picker. That's saved money. Lime required. If that's off, guess what? You don't have to buy lime or a spreader for it ever. That's saved money. Weeds. If it's off, you don't have to buy the equipment to do weeds. Perfect. Disaster destruction. You can do visuals only, so you can look at the tornadoes and the hail, or you can just disable everything completely. So with these settings right here, your crops are going to be perfectly fine. Something else you could do if you want to is you could turn seasonal growth to no. And then this way, you can just have everything grow the way that it would naturally. I've actually got a video out already showing off the crop growth times for all the crops in FS25. For example, if you want something that grows fast, maybe red beets or carrots is something to show off. Or maybe soybeans, one of my favorite. Oats, it takes 4 months. If you have seasonal cycles turned off, you can grow and harvest oats in like 3 times in a single year. That's pretty cool. In the game, wheat takes a whole year. You can only do it once a year. Here, 7 months. So in a 14-month span, you've done it twice. I highly recommend taking a look at this if you haven't seen it already or going to watch that video. This way, you can help yourself maybe figuring out what's going to be best for you. The rest of this days per month, fixed visual month, doesn't really matter too much. However, the months are going to be the important things here. So if you set this to 1, you're going to be much, much better off. Also, if you're doing this and you don't want to deal with, the different seasonal changes, just set this to like July or August and you'll be fine. You can also turn off snow. A couple other things I would do, maybe set dirt to off. That way your vehicle doesn't have any dirt and doesn't get damaged as quickly. The rest of the stuff really doesn't matter here. You can also set fuel usage to low. Hey, you'll save some money that way. That's pretty good. Trailer fill limit, make sure that's set to off. That way you could travel with more. And then all of your AI work stuff. For some reason, this is all set to buy. Turn this stuff off, man. If you turn that off, that means that you've bought the right amount of seeds and fertilizer and slurry and manure that you need. Your worker's not going to be constantly buying that stuff when they're out in the field. This is like one of the biggest money savers ever. A couple other ways you could save a little bit of cash. Let's say you've already made your money. We've got like 1,600, 1,400. Yeah, we got money. Avoid these production chains. Early on in the game span, avoid these at all costs. Do not buy them. This is a me thing. You may want to use them. However, if you're trying to make the most amount of money as quick as possible, I would avoid these. They're very, very expensive. For example, the bakery right here. We take a visit to the bakery. If we go to buy it, $50,000. Now, that's not too bad. However, the output of it is a little bit on the low side as well. And it's going to take like 8 to 12 months to recoup your money. Driver 53 actually has great videos on different production chains, so definitely check those out if you want to see which one's going to be the best moneymaker. However, a blanket statement overall, do your best to avoid buying these early on. I would definitely wait until a year or two into your game save just to be safe. Animals are the same as well. With animals, you're going to be needing forage crops to be able to feed them, whether that be grass or silage, TMR, stuff like that. That stuff gets expensive, especially when you have to have a dedicated field for grass or 2 or 3, plus dedicated equipment and things like that. They're not going to be making the money as fast with the time versus effort scale. So if you're wanting to make as much money as possible and you don't care about animals, then get rid of them. And while we're at it, after you've sold those, sell everything else. Literally, you could sell like everything on this farm. All the stuff you can sell. Also, right over here, there's stuff too. There's like 2 placeables here. Definitely make sure you get those sold. There's a bunch in this area right here. So we have a small little grain bin that's not actually a grain bin. Then you've got stuff for bees all over the place. There's like 4 or 5 different placeables here for bees. Got to get rid of those. Got to get rid of the trigger in the middle, of course. There's also a house over here, a small shed that's being built. Get rid of that thing. And then we've got a couple sheds over here too. Make sure you get rid of these if you don't want these. Hey, if you want the most amount of money, you got to be willing to sell everything. And then there's one more thing right here. The small farmer's kiosk. Sell that. It's also going to sell your archway there too. So that is that. And then these buildings cannot be sold no matter how much you try. They just won't sell. And your farmhouse can't be sold either. However, now that we've done all of that, you could technically field flip your own farm now. So you can sell the main farm for $180,000. Then you could also sell that field. And then you could sell all of these fields individually. Bam, 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 bam. Now you own nothing, but you have $2.1 million. 500 of which is a loan. But hey, that's more than you had. But now you have nothing. So there's that too. Before we get into the real cheaty stuff, avoid root crops at all costs. They take forever. And with things like this, for example, you have to cart constantly with this. Time versus money. It's also $637,000 just to be able to harvest. This has a capacity, but it's a 1-row piece of equipment, 0.8 meters. Even the smallest field's going to take you an hour or more to do. And it only has a capacity of, 5,500 liters. That's going to fill up super fast. Spinach, green beans, peas, all of those as well. Avoid them like the plague to start with. Equipment is expensive. The crops are fairly good when it comes to pricing. However, like if we bought this, it would take up, a fourth, more than a fourth of what we've got right now. It costs more than the loan that we have currently. So be careful with root crops just in general. I would stick to grain crops and corn, things like that early on. Now's where it gets fun because now we're going to start cheating a little bit. Go into multiplayer, create a game, find yourself an empty slot, and do the new farmer again. Now, whenever you do this, what I want you to do is think about, what map do you really want to play on? Is it any of these, or is there a new mod map out that maybe you want to play on? Go to new farmer, starting money, $1 million. Can't start with any more than that. No loan, and economic difficulty, easy as always. Then go through your settings and your steps, and we'll see you in the game in multiplayer. When we start off, we are now in the game, and everything looks pretty normal, with the exception that we don't have any starting equipment. So, let's go around, and we're just going to create every single farm that it will let us create, which is 7, if you're curious. Now, in the previous one, we would take out a loan. Do not take out the loan. You've already done everything. Literally, everything you just did, that's all you got to do. Save the game now. Once you've done that, back out all the way to the main menu. Now that we're back in, we go into single player, and you can see money, $7 million. Simply load in, and you're gonna get this message. Don't freak out. We did this on purpose, remember? The farm from the multiplayer game, or farms have been merged into single player after saving. This game will become a single player game permanently. Kinda. Can't wait to show you this, kinda. So we hit OK, and now, guess what? $7 million. We have no loan amount, nothing like that. Boom, 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 boom. Finances, we're all good. Loan of $0. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now you might be saying to yourself, but I want all of the starting equipment. I just want a bunch of extra cash. Well, do this. Go into single player, create your game. Hit save, then back out. In the main menu, go to multiplayer, create a game, find the game save slot that you just created, and will now pop up here in multiplayer. However, farm number 1 now owns all this other stuff, which is great, my farm. So now we can create a bunch more farms, just like so, all the way up till we have all 7 of our farms. Back out, save the game, back into single player we go, select your game save, and when we load back in, we're gonna get the same signal, but guess what? Now it's single player, 1 farm, and we have $7 million to play with, which is, let's be fair, more than enough for most people. Honestly, if you wanted to go in and create like 1 extra farm, get an extra $1 million, something like that, you're good. If you want to cheat a bunch, hey, you can do this as many times as you want. You're good to go, man. You get an extra, was it 7? 6. An extra $6 million every time, because the main farm here, farm number 1, has to be your starter farm. So you'll be getting $6 million extra each time. How cool is that? So there's one more thing that I want to show you, and this is the money cheat, aka the government subsidy, son, from Realismus Modding. Actually, the same people that created the Seasons mod back in 17 and 19. There's a couple different signs in here that you can create up to, well, a lot of money each month. Let's jump in, make sure it's installed, and check it out. Back in the game now, go into the second section here, which has factories at the top, but we want generators. Let's go here, and we can customize this now. So do you want $4,000 a month, $40,000, $400,000, or $4 million per month? Whenever you've got the one that you want selected, just hit okie dokie and rock and roll. That's it. That's too many. Let's put a couple more down, yeah! And if you turn free mode on, you can create a government subsidy tower? I guess, yeah, it's a tower. Couldn't tell you how many I've got right here, but let's just say that's a lot of money. And now all you gotta do is fast forward a little bit of time, or for me, I'm going to go to sleep till the next day. And by 5 a.m. the next day, we have $196 million. This is the best way to cheat. Did I mention these signs are free? Yeah, these signs are free. And there you go. Those are some ways to get some legitimate and maybe not so legitimate money in Farming Simulator 25. If you've got a different way that you like to find money in the game, hey, please let us know down in the comments. If you've got any questions about any of these different ways, you can also let me know down there. And I just hope you enjoyed this video. I also hope that you have an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one.